Welcome to Ask a Pro Bike Mechanic. We found out last week that our catchphrase was, don't turn the screw if you don't know what it do. You've got Aaron Danger Meekum, Dave, everybody knows one, and Nicole is going to be asking our questions today. All right, who's got the first question?
All right, I want this one to go to Aaron Danger Meekum. So, people go to the internet to search up a quick answer to everything. So they might go on to research what tires to use. So they could be someone from Bentonville, Arkansas, asking a question about what tire to use, and they get a response from someone in Moab, Utah. What is problematic about that?
So the issue with taking tire recommendations from people in different regions is soil makes a difference, especially since Moab doesn't really have soil. They have rock and they have sand, where in Bentonville they've got a lot of wet soil and wet rock and different type of rocks. But then tire widths make a huge difference. Like we've ridden with guys up in the Pacific Northwest, and a lot of those people like a 2.3 tire because it cuts into the loam and it holds and digs in better.
So yeah, I remember a couple years ago, the two of us went and rode for like a week with the guys at Transition. And I was shocked in that time that they rode such, what felt like to me, narrow tires. And then we went out and rode a bunch of their kind of famous trails and learned what loam was for reals. And it did make perfect sense again. Whereas you and I, we'd been riding, 2 5s or 2 6s on the terrain that we'd ridden all the time.
Yeah, and similar situation, I went out and rode the farm Trek's proving ground, and some of their tires that I thought were absolutely terrible out here were pretty fantastic in Wisconsin. In fact, I was blown away with how great they were, because we at the old shop that I worked for, we would take off those tires and just had stacks of them, and then we would blow them out at huge discounts. And then I rode them in Wisconsin. I'm like, oh, that's why they do these tires, not just because they're trying to cheapen up the spec.
Yeah, another good example of this, I flipping through pictures on the laptop here. Bootleg Canyon, just outside of Vegas, is kind of a famous, super gnarly old world downhill World Cup course. And I remember riding that again with you and a big group of guys and just destroying tires.
Yeah, some of my favorite tires at the time, they were E13s, and loved them up here. They were insanely grippy, and I destroyed 2 of them down there in one ride.
Yeah, I mean, huge differences in tires. Also, technology differences that we've seen in the past few years. I mean, besides maybe like the dropper posts and advances in geometry and suspension, tubeless setup is, in my opinion, one of the biggest improvements mountain bike has seen. And out in the desert is where you really kind of take a huge benefit from that with all the sharp stuff you're going to run into.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like even a great tire desert setting can just destroy it, because you'll go from soft sand to rounded sandstone and slick rock, and then all of a sudden you'll have a sharp edge chunky rock that just folds your tire over and smashes it into your rim.
Yeah. Nicole, this is actually a picture I'm showing of church rocks, but it's a slick rock section. Nicole brought up Moab. I think let's punch that myth in the face right now. Slick rock is only called slick rock because the pioneers, when they had shod horses on it in the rain, especially, it was super slippery. But with a shod horse, it's slippery anytime. But mountain bikes, it's the opposite, right?
Correct. That's why Moab became so famous, because you could climb straight up by basically cliff faces, and now we're climbing down them. We'll see the videos on the internet, but yeah, a horse with metal shoes, it's just going to slide down that.
Yeah, I was riding there just a little bit ago with a bunch of doctors and dentists on Yetis and pivots, and they kept asking when it started to rain, should we go down this face? Is it too slippery? Are we going to die? And I just keep thinking, no, man, modern mountain bike tires can handle all of this.
Yeah. However, on that trip, you guys did convince me not to go down the notch on, is it upper Porcupine single track or lower?
Yeah.
One of the Porcupine
Right in
single
between
tracks.
upper Porcupine single track and LPS, I think, is where the...
Yeah, once our tires got sand built up onto them, it was like tiny ball bearings. So,
Yeah.
So I did have to second guess that, but everywhere else was fantastic.
Okay, so where we ride matters with the tires. So
Yes.
another question I wanted you to address is, besides where you're at, different bikes probably want different tires on them, downhill versus cross country. What do you have to say about what tires you would need for that?
Yeah, so absolutely, higher speeds do affect how your tire performs, and that's why there's downhill and double down casing with Maxxis, and then XO and XO Plus. It all makes a difference in what the tire is able to withstand. And yeah, on a downhill bike, you're smashing into stuff at higher speeds, and so you want a more durable tire, but that also adds a lot of weight, which is hard to pedal up a hill. And so and then also having that really sticky, grippy rubber makes a difference on how easy it is to pedal a bike up as well. And so yeah, having even a fairly wide tire, we're starting to see 2.4s in World Cup racing now, but yeah, different tire casings to make them lighter and faster rolling, rubber all makes a big difference.
And then of course, you've got your major outliers, these, beautiful bikes that we call fat. It's so degrading to them. They're anything but. They're so svelte. But with huge tires meant to traverse snow, and actually one of my favorite trips ever was riding along a beach with my wife for about 6 or 7 miles with dolphins jumping about 50 feet off the shoreline on mountain bikes on the beach. We were able to do it with these huge tired bikes. That was pretty dang rad. I also do want to, Aaron is the main bike whisperer for MTBTune.Online, and just wanted to talk a little bit about ways that you can educate yourself on this type of stuff, so that you can make an educated decision instead of just going out there and getting some random person's opinion. You can educate yourself and make a good decision.
Yeah, figuring out the right tire for you, because there are, Maxxis in the Minion, they've got the DHF and the DHR, and within those they have 4 different compounds, and in 29-inch they have 2 3s, 2 5s, 2 4s, 2 6, 2 8, and even a 3.0. So, and that's all just one tread pattern. And so, how the Minions are probably the most recommended because they work so well across so many different areas. But yeah, how do you decide from there what what compound, what casing, what size of, or what width. Obviously, you have to stick with your rim size.
Yeah, it can be pretty daunting. There's so many different options out there, and kind of once you've learned the basic anatomy and what the parts of the tire are for, and how they're going to work with the conditions you're riding in, then there's a whole nother having to learn how to set it up tubeless, what pressures to run, if you're going to run out of sealant, if you're going to get a hole on the trail, how to fix that, how to take care of that. It really can be kind of a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
If you let yourself dive into this, and then you get the real witch doctors out there who are pitching how to make your own sealant, which is a whole nother level of mountain bike geek. I mean, we're geeks, but that's geek.
Yeah, we always think we can do it better. That's why we put a fork with an extra 10 millimeters of travel on it, Stan Snow Tubes. They've been doing it for so long they've lost touch with reality, and so we can take some Elmer's glue and some glitter and make it better if we find the right recipe. That I need to specify that was sarcasm right there.
Don't do that. Yeah. Do not do that. You're funny you bring that up, doing it better. I remember when I think it was the DHF first came out in a 2.5. There was a bunch of people running them backwards.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, dude, it just hooks up so much better.
Yeah.
And I think I probably went through that phase, but I kind of got over it because I'm like, those guys at Maxxis know what they're doing, man.
Yeah.
And they do a good job.
Yeah, and there's reasons to run a tire one way or another, but usually those tires have been designed to be mounted one way or the other.
Yeah.
Okay, I think you solved that question for us. Now I know Aaron and Dave and I all of us have children. So
not together. That's weird.
Nothing weird going on here. So my question is, I ride with my kids all the time. We'll be just on the roads. They'll make little jumps. We'll go on the trails with them. For that type of riding around, what do you suggest for tires for the kids' bikes?
Now, I'm fairly opinionated about this because I feel like unless you spend a significant amount of money, most kids' mountain bike suspension is kind of garbage. And so most of their suspension is going to come from their tires. So the more girth you can give them in their tire and the better rubber and run it at the lowest pressure you can to still give them grip is going to be most of their suspension. So in my opinion, that's one of the first things I'd upgrade on a kid's bike is get them a decent tubeless tire setup and the biggest rubber that will fit on their little tiny frame.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree, but I also feel that way about my own personal bike. If most double-walled rims can be converted to tubeless with the right tire, and good tires make such a huge difference, even with good suspension. But yeah, those kids' bikes, having even a 2.4 is going to add so much to traction and control, and therefore make it give them more confidence and make the experience more enjoyable. And so those kids are going to end up riding with you, and it is so much better to have a riding partner that lives with you, so that you can say, hey, let's go for a ride.
My little daughter, Georgiana, still back and forth between a Strider and a legitimate bike. Yahoo! And it is amazing to see the difference just between her Strider with those tires that are just firm and locked up all the time. You know, they don't have any air in them. They're just solid tires. Yahoo! To her little pedal bike, and how she's able to drop off a curb or hit little bumps, you know, and be more comfortable just with some decent rubber there between her and the riding surface.
Yeah, yep, definitely.
Okay, I think that's all we're going to do today for tires and where you live and where you ride and who you ride with and who you have children with. And we'll be back next time with some more with Ask a Pro Bike Mechanic. And remember, don't turn the screw if you don't know what it did.